Hey, welcome back to That 70s Card Show. I am John Keating, and I thank you for joining me as I take a look back at the cards and the culture of the very colorful 1970s. We'll revisit a more simple time in our hobby by taking a deep dive into the sets and the stats with a generous amount of dad facts sprinkled in. That 70s Card Show is currently sponsored by nobody. If you have a comment, suggestion, or you'd like to invite me to a wedding, please reach out to me at that70scardShow@gmail.com. Twitter, I'm on @70scard, and YouTube, That 70s Card Show. Of course, this is episode 66, and we are going to get our kicks in episode 66. What a time to be alive. November 2022, as we, meaning me, record this. Phillies are in the World Series. Game 3 coming up imminently. The Philadelphia Eagles are 7-0. And Manchester City is the greatest world football team in the universe. Yeah, you can't argue with any of those, can you? Episode 66, of course, we're going to talk about the world famous Route 66. Talk a little bit about my whole setup here, if you don't mind. I kind of travel a lot. I spend a lot of time on airplanes, and I'm more of a destination first, journey second kind of person. I don't necessarily enjoy the journey anymore. I just want to get there. Of course, that happens when you're old. But I'll tell you about 1980. My father had about 2 months worth of vacation time accrued, and his employer, which was at the time the school district of Philadelphia, kind of forced him out and said, you cannot come back to work until you take your 8 weeks vacation. So my father decided to buy a 1979 Plymouth Voyager window van, predominantly beige with a wonderful chocolate brown stripe throughout the perimeter, about mid-body all the way around, windows everywhere, bench seating throughout. And what do? We decided to go across country, mother, father, and 3 growing men, all in their teens. I don't know what they were thinking. More importantly, I don't know what happened to our dog or our cats when we went away for 5 or 6 weeks in the middle of the summer of 1980. It's a mystery. Perhaps I can revisit that the next time I have my 2 brothers on the show with me. They seem to remember things better than I do. But kind of crazy there, where we had obligations like lives of pets, and I think we just headed west. We headed west, visited relatives in Iowa for a little ways, but pretty much camped out throughout the country for the next 5 weeks. Pretty awesome. We went across the top of the country, down the coast of California into Mexico, and then back across country a little bit, kind of right along the old belt line of the nation, probably hitting a lot of these Route 66 destinations on the way. I got to see the 1980 baseball all-star game. We stayed in Cody, Wyoming that night. It was one of the few nights we had a hotel. Otherwise, we were in our big canvas Coleman tent, the 5 of us. And also remember visiting Busch Stadium in St. Louis, getting to run around on the AstroTurf and in the dugout and see the St. Louis Cardinal Baseball Hall of Fame. Back then, I think that trip probably shaped my nomadic character that I would have throughout my life. I spent 10 years on a tour bus crisscrossing, and I like to say I've been to everybody's town and everybody's college, but I've been to a lot of them. And some things never change. I'm still a nomad, and yeah, away we go. If you have the opportunity to get in a car and drive across this country, do so. Take those exits too. Don't stay on the highway all the time, because I think that that's one of the things that has kind of put a division between us, the highway people versus the side road people. A place like Route 66, you could drive from Chicago, the Lake Michigan shoreline in Chicago to the beaches of Santa Monica, and see people throughout. I mean, that journey would take a week or 10 days. Nowadays, you can do it in probably 3 or 4 days, but, we don't get to know each other anymore. But back then, Route 66 brought a lot of people together, a lot of hope, people heading west. Clubs like the Los Angeles Dodgers headed west, probably on Route 66 on their way out there and stuff like that. So America kind of grew up driving across Route 66, our westward expansion with the automobile. Kind of during the Depression, the Dust Bowl, all that stuff, World War II, all those little growth spurts were fueled by and enabled by Route 66. Now, obviously, it's the 66th episode, but what's cool about Route 66 is baseballreference.com/Route 66 will show you a map and the players that were born within 50 miles of Route 66. Route 66 only exists kind of in our imagination and in some stretches. There's still signs that say Route 66, although it's not part of the highway system anymore, apparently. But you go through places like Chicago and Springfield, Illinois, and St. Louis, and then Springfield, Missouri, which is kind of one of the epicenters of the Route 66 story. I won't bore you by reading from Wikipedia, but Springfield has a lot to do with that. Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Amarillo, Albuquerque, places like that, and of course Los Angeles. So when we say born within 50 miles of Route 66, that encompasses a lot of the Los Angeles areas, which can be a 100-mile swath there if you're talking about 50 miles on each side of Route 66. A lot of great players from that area, stuff like that. Talk a little bit about Route 66 here. Again, starts out in Illinois, 2,448 miles it was. And this is according to Wikipedia. And Illinois, 301 miles. Missouri, 317 miles. A wee 13 miles. And Kansas, Oklahoma, home of many baseball legends like Mickey Mantle, Johnny Bench, and Cooter Lev. 432 miles. 186 miles of road in Texas, 487. The road champion is New Mexico, 401 miles in Arizona, and finishing off 314 miles in California. So baseball players, lots of them, not just from the 70s, but throughout the wonderful, wonderful history of baseball. Chicago, if you go click on the map of Chicago, it'll tell you that 393 players were born within 50 miles of Route 66 in the Chicago area. Kind of pretty cool. Don't know why my cell phone's doing what it's doing, but I'm getting some major interference. But we get out of those suburbs and stuff like that. We get to see these little dots along the way on Route 66. I'm going to try to highlight some of them here as I go. Let's see here. Al Braithwood was born in Braceville, Illinois, right? In Lexington, Illinois, we had Ed Kinsella. Lincoln, there's 4 players from Lincoln, Illinois. Let's see here. This may be boring to people at home. Lee Dunham was born in Atlanta, Illinois. Springfield, Illinois had 23 Major League Baseball players. St. Louis, 321 players born there along Route 66. And then we start to get into no man's land, and all these players kind of sprinkled in. And that's kind of the story of, like I said, America, but also think about all these players born along that road that that's all they had is baseball. They didn't have the distractions of the big city and stuff like that. Just along the way, Joplin, Missouri, 8 players born there, 2 players, and these are players that either pitched or had an at-bat in the big leagues. Tulsa, Oklahoma, 51 players. Oklahoma City, 47 players. Goes on and on and on, right? So oddly enough, let's talk a little bit about New Mexico, since New Mexico has the most players. I'm sorry, the most road miles. It doesn't have that many players, though. It has Albuquerque gave us 11 big league players. Tuca Macari gave us Mark Corey, and Gallup, New Mexico, gave us Willie Adams. Other than that, not a lot going on in New Mexico. Greatest all-time home run hitter born within 50 miles of Route 66 is, of course, Barry Bonds with 762 home runs. Barry Bonds is your all-time home run leader. That's not debatable. Barry Bonds belongs in the Baseball Hall of Fame for sure. And second at 583 is Mark McGwire. I feel the same about Mark McGwire. Put that man in the Hall of Fame. And Mickey Mantle, 536 home runs, is your third most home runs hit by a player from Route 66. Eddie Murray, 504 home runs. Again, there's a lot of Los Angeles players here. Mark McGwire, Eddie Murray. Barry Bonds was born out there in, I believe, Riverside, California. But he's your home run leader, your RBI leader, and third in stolen bases, 514 stolen bases. Brett Butler, 558. And your champion base stealer from the Route 66 babies is Ricky. Just call me Ricky Henderson. And Ricky also has the most runs scored with 2295. Hits-wise, Eddie Murray, 3255. Paul Wainer, who was born in Harrah, Oklahoma. He has the second most hits at 3,152, and Tony Gwynn, 3,154. There's another, of course, 3,000 hit player there, and that's Ricky Henderson with 3,055. Batting average, you'll be surprised to hear this. Batting average wise, there's actually John Harrell, who played in 1969, batted 6 times, got 3 hits. He's your all-time Route 66 leading hitter at 500. He was born in Long Beach, California. Of course, that's a joke. First player born along Route 66, which didn't even exist back then, to play in the big leagues was Charlie O'Leary. And Charlie O'Leary made his debut in 1904. He was born in Chicago, Illinois, of course. Triples leader, I'd have to say that's Paul Wainer, 191. Wally Pipp. Remember old Wally Pipp? He had 148 career triples. He was born in Chicago, Wally Pipp was. And Brett Butler has 131 triples. Now, it's interesting about that is we would think Ricky Henderson would have had a lot of triples, but Ricky Henderson had fewer triples than Tony Gwynn and Barry Bonds and Red Shandies. So Ricky Henderson only hit 66 triples in his career, 297 home runs. That's surprising with his speed. But Ricky would tell you that Ricky didn't want to go to third base unless Ricky was stealing third base, because Ricky was looking for stolen bases for Ricky. So can't say I blame the guy. War-wise, we're talking WAR. Barry Bonds, 162.79. Ricky Henderson, 111.12. And Mickey Mantle, 110.18. Now, let's see here. We're going to talk about pitchers, I guess, right? Pitchers, your all-time pitching leader from the Route 66 babies is Robin Roberts. Robin Roberts was born in Springfield, Illinois, and quite a pitcher. I want to say second best, third best pitcher in Philadelphia history, or Philadelphia Phillies history, probably fourth best overall, although I might put him ahead of Carlton. But Philly-wise, Lefty Grove, Grover Cleveland, Alexander, and then it's a battle royale between Robin Roberts and Steve, I'm from Mars, Carlton. Carl Hubble, 253 wins. Dave Wells, 239. Jerry Royce, 220. Don Drysdale, 209. Does anybody else think of Mr. Drysdale when they hear Don Drysdale's name? Mr. Drysdale from Beverly Hillbillies. Bob Lemon had 207 career wins, and Max Scherzer has 201 wins as a current Route 66 baby. He was born in San Luis, Missouri. Hall of Famers. You want to talk Hall of Famers? Boy, this road has some Hall of Famers. Of course, Ricky Henderson, Mickey Mantle, Johnny Bench, Paul Wainer, Alan Trammell, Gary Carter, Tony Gwynn, Eddie Murray, Duke Snyder, Lou Boudreau. Just goes on and on and on. I'll keep going if you want. Willie Stargell, Joe Gordon, Bobby Doerr, Kirby Puckett. A guy named Willie Wells, who was a Negro Leaguer. Red Shandies, Nomar Garcia-Parra. And he's not a Hall of Famer. Not at all. Ray Schalk, Lloyd Wainer, Freddie Lidstrom. And that's it for the hitters. Pitching-wise, Robin Roberts, Carl Hubble, Don Drysdale, Bullet Rogan from the Negro Leagues, Bob Lemon, who started out as an outfielder, Trevor Hoffman, of course, the reliever, Hall of Famer, and so on and so on. So Route 66 gives us many, many, many players. Again, we talked about, who did we talk about? We talked about Los Angeles. Los Angeles has a total of, 242 players, but that doesn't count Long Beach and Riverside and all those setups there. So lots of players come from Route 66. Lots of wonderful people from the 70s, right? We'll talk about 70s stuff here. You got your people like Ricky Henderson played in the 70s, Johnny Bench, Alan Trammell, Gary Carter, Eddie Murray we talked about, Dwight Evans. Where else can we go with this? Bobby Bonds, of course, is Willie Stargell. Brian Downing was a 70s boy from the California Angels and Chicago White Sox. Brian Downing, another one of those Los Angeles fellas. Darrell Porter. Darrell Porter was from Joplin, Missouri, and had a pretty decent career as a catcher, 4-time All-Star, won a World Series in '82. He was a World Series MVP. He was an NLCS MVP for St. Louis. So he won, played for Milwaukee, played for Kansas City, and played for St. Louis. Pretty much did all right his last back half of his career. Drew 121 bases on balls in 1979 for the Royals. But, yeah, decent defensive catcher back then. Lonnie Smith, skates. He played in the 70s, it says here. Dusty Baker and whatnot. Dusty Baker is, I hear he's in line to win a World Series. Let's hope that doesn't happen. Bill Russell, of course, the Dodgers shortstop. Bill Russell's one of those guys who started out, I believe it was him and Say, started out as center fielders, but they got moved because of Rick Monday was in center field. So he was the tallest of those infielders. He used to sky over Say and Lopes and Garvey, which was odd for a second baseman back then. Usually second basemen were or shortstops were your scrappers back then. JT Realmuto was born in Del City, Oklahoma. And he, I believe, will be awarded a World Series ring in 2022. We'll see how that happens. He plays for the Philadelphia Phillies, considered one of the best catchers currently in the game. And Philadelphia hero, the only player who hit an inside the park home run in postseason history. So that's that. So Route 66, go on there, baseballreference.com/Route 66 / and go take a tour of old Route 66 from Chicago way down to San Luis, Oklahoma. Stop and see Cooter on your way past Oklahoma, Albuquerque, across the wilderness of Arizona, and into the Los Angeles basin. You'll have a good time. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Episode 66. I didn't think I'd get this far, but I appreciate you guys jamming with me along the way. That's about it. Again, reach out to me if you have any comments or questions. I appreciate it. Thanks for joining me this week again on my journey back in time. We went all the way back to Route 66. If you have a comment or suggestion, perhaps you have a topic you'd like me to discuss, reach out to me at ThatSeventiesCardShow@gmail.com, Twitter at 70scard, and YouTube, That 70s Card Show. I am being played out on the podcast by Mango Safari, and looking forward to this evening, Game 3 of the Baseball World Series, and looking forward to wonderful, wonderful time with my cards of all sorts, baseballs, the basketballs, the footballs, and maybe even the hockey cards I get a little bit of enjoyment from. So thanks again for having me here in your ears. Hopefully I was able to help you sort through some cards maybe in the background, and maybe sort through some of Americana history, and having you gently hold my hand as we both jump into the rabbit hole of Route 66. So that's it. That's it for me. I urge you to enjoy collecting, and as always, enjoy your collection. Thank you. Be safe, and go Phils.